fine. We'll give it about one more minute, let a couple more people join in, and then we'll start. Okay, I have 10 a.m., so we'll get started. Hello, everyone on the call, and welcome to ICOP's Peer Learning Series. I'm Michelle Wallstrom. I work with the Iowa Council of Foundations and as a Community Foundation Services Coordinator. Today's call marks the third of our year-long, which is mostly monthly, learning series. These calls will feature one or more of your peers who wants to share their experiences with you on each month's topic. A full listing, if you're interested on the month's topics, can be found in the January CS snapshot, which is now located in the resources section of the Iowa Council of Foundations website. And on there, it'll give you each month what we're planning throughout the whole year for these calls. So today's topic is Affiliate Roundup, which is going to focus on communications and awareness campaigns. We have two of your colleagues on the call today to share their experiences around this topic, and then there'll be time during the call for any questions or discussion items or reactions that you have to what you're hearing about. So first, MJ Smith, who's Director of Affiliates for the Community Foundation of Greater Dubuque, and then Jake Byers, who's Director of Marketing and Communications for the Community Foundation of Northeast Iowa, will share stories of success that affiliates and their organizations have had recently with communications and awareness campaigns, which help them to continue expanding their presence and endowment building within their communities. So just as a reminder, as a courtesy, please mute your phones while someone is talking, and then obviously unmute them if you'd like to ask a question or add to the discussion. And then I just also ask that you identify yourself and your organization when you ask a question, just so we know who's speaking. So we'll begin first with MJ, and I'll turn it over to you.
Good morning, Michelle. I'm coming to you from Lake Delhi. I'm with a valued colleague, Nancy Preisner, who's our Donor Connections Coordinator for Delaware County, and with a community leader, Lori Kramer. And so we're participating in the call today. The story that I'm going to share comes from Alameda County, which is in the far northeast corner, bordering both Wisconsin and Minnesota. And Betty Steggy is our foundation coordinator in Alameda County, and she had a family health appointment today, but she's very sorry to miss the call because she was excited about this project, and she would have been a far more effective storyteller, but I will do my best knowing that she could not be here on the call today. The Iowa Council Foundation supported this project through what we call a Connect, or an Idea Implementation Grant, in the calendar year 2014, and it was called the Alameda County Community Foundation Listening Session Project. And it commenced in the spring when a letter was sent to 8 to 12 individuals, and these were considered thought leaders from the 6 communities in Alameda County. That would include Waterville, Lansing, Waupun, New Albin, Harpers Ferry, and Postville. Each board member from those communities suggested the 8 to 12 individuals. So it was a really nice, snug fit in terms of identifying different demographics, different age groups that might come together as thought leaders for each community. The letter included a questionnaire, and there were only 7 questions in the questionnaire, and they were very open-ended. And then it was followed by an invitation to an informal meal discussion then took place after the letter and questions were shared. And the board participated in those Mexican restaurants together.
MJ, this is Michelle. You're breaking up a little bit.
I'll talk a little bit closer here to my phone and see if that helps.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a connection issue or what, but it was kind of in and out there, so you might want to back up just a little bit.
Okay. Maybe what I'll do is this any better?
Yes, that's better.
Okay. I'll just start at the point where the board members from each of the 6 communities identified 8 to 12 thought leaders to contact to participate in the listening sessions. So it wasn't the whole community that was involved. It was never announced in the paper or on Facebook, but these 8 to 12 individuals were thoughtfully selected to represent the demographic and age and ethnicity of the community. So seniors were involved, youth were involved, business leaders were involved, families were involved. And then in the letter, there were 7 questions to think about and an invitation to come to an informal meal and discussion. So the entire board, the entire Al-McKee board then, for instance, went to Postville for a Mexican restaurant. Of the 8 to 12 people who were invited, typically about 2/3 actually ended up attending. So that was kind of a predictor on who would actually show up. And then there was an informal discussion of the 7 questions and careful note-taking. Then there was a report issued at the end of the 6 meetings. And that report was compiled in the fall and published at the end of 14. And the report was shared with community leaders. So what I consider the deliverables of this project, which was underwritten by the grant from ICOF, were first of all that community leaders were engaged. They learned a little bit more about the foundation. Community needs were measured in a subjective way. So those responses about, what's important to you, what's your dream for Postville, those were measured. And then the report itself was shared with the elected officials, which included the mayors of all the towns, councils, as well as the Board of Supervisors for the county. And I think that the report, in an ongoing way, informed the Al-McKee County Community Foundation's grant making, because they heard over and over and over again what was important in each of these communities. And I would say that the result was that their grant making was more strategic. They made fewer grants with larger dollar amounts to really invest and boost investment in those projects or programs that came through on the listening session. So that's a little snapshot, and I have provided the actual report, which is a PDF that details the whole initiative. And it would be very easy for someone to take that report and replicate the process.
Sounds good. MJ, you had sent me the report, so I just wanted to let everybody on the call know that I will distribute that via email later today after our call so everybody can see in your inbox exactly what MJ is talking about this morning. So anything else you want to add, MJ?
No, I would just say that the relationships that are strengthened through having an informal meal together and really kind of a rich discussion about, what is our dream for Postville, creates a bond and a new, just a new filter on existing relationships, because now when board members see those individuals, they can return to that discussion. Oh, yes, we talked about the library needing a new roof, and, that was a grant that was made the following year. So they share in a success that is tied back to that simple meal and discussion.
And you may have mentioned this, and I'll have everyone ask questions at the end, but I just wanted to clarify. Did you say how they came about deciding to do the listening report? I mean, I know they received an idea implementation grant. Did they decide then at the Connect conference they wanted to do that, or was there discussion amongst the board saying, we don't really know what the community needs are? Can you talk just a little bit about that?
Well, I think that many of our affiliate advisory boards struggle when grant applications come in, and maybe they feel kind of like the same song, a different verse, and maybe some governments or groups applying year after year, and there just not being a lot of excitement or strategy around the annual grant award. And that didn't happen the first couple of years because it was all so new. But the Alma Key Board was approaching its 10th anniversary, and they were really ready, I think, through their own their own decision-making and discussion, and then together with the Connect conference, learning around strategic grant-making, that they decided to do this project.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And like I mentioned, I'm sure others have questions. We'll just save those to the end. Thank you, MJ, for providing us with that information about the good work going on in Alma-Key County. Now I'd like Jake Byers to talk a little bit about some of the successes, communications, and awareness campaigns that he's been assisting affiliates with the Community Foundation of Northeast Iowa. Jake?
Thanks, Michelle. Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to share, I'll probably share a few different things. But one of the things that I look at and we look at the Community Foundation Northeast Iowa is, how do we balance, how much we can do for our affiliates with the time and resources that we have, but also encouraging them and wanting them to take on those responsibilities as the local committees and those local people who want to see those local impacts. Jamar Thompson, who many of you probably know is our affiliate development director, does a fantastic job of working with our committee members. And recently we had our regional affiliate meeting where we brought affiliates from all across our region of 24 affiliates to come and learn from each other. It was more this similar style of the peer-to-peer kind of learning. The piece that I led was a part called getting them to know who we are, basically. And all of our affiliates and us as hosts, we want more and more awareness of what we're doing and the impacts that we're making in our communities. So I had a panel of four people from 3 of our affiliates join us to talk about that subject. And one of those people that I had on that panel I'm going to talk about first was Mindy Baker. She's actually the editor of the Algona Upper Des Moines newspaper. And she was kind enough to come in and to share some thoughts on how to work with the media to spread that awareness. One of the unique things about the Kossuth County Community Foundation that they have this relationship with their local newspaper is the paper actually produces what they call Leave a Legacy piece, and it's really a booklet almost that's included in their newspaper. And this whole thing came about because of engagement with the local committee. And actually, Kirk Hayes was the then chair. This has been going on for, I don't even know, I think it's at least 5 years potentially. He took the initiative to go talk to the newspaper and to get this thing moving in the direction that he wanted it to move in. The Leave a Legacy piece, just to give you a little bit of an idea of what's included in this, is a fantastic piece. It's not just about the Community Foundation. However, it is a large emphasis on that. Of course, we're talking about planned gifts, estate, charitable estate planning. There are grantee stories. They do a great job with the paper of covering some of the grants that have been made that past year, and showing those grants and the impacts that they have on the local Kossuth County communities. And then, of course, they do focus on the Community Foundation there in Kossuth County and share that message. It's a really powerful piece that only came about because of that initiative that was taken by the committee there in Kossuth County. And now it's an annual piece that the paper takes on. And from the perspective of cost, this piece is no cost to the Kossuth County Community Foundation. And the way the paper does it is they pay for this piece through advertising. And so they solicit advertising for this particular piece, and that's how it's paid for by the paper. So that's really one fantastic example of a committee member or committee members taking that real initiative to be engaged with their local media. And that continues in Kossuth County, even though Kirk is no longer the chair. But Mindy has a really strong relationship with that community foundation, and part of that is that she sees the impacts of those grants that are being made. She actually was sharing with me that she's an EMT there locally, and her team has benefited from those grants. And so it's just making those connections, but really it's engaging the local media. She also talked a lot about, how do you want news, and how do you receive news as a newspaper? And, she really just talked a lot about that human connection and sharing that through the grants that we give to nonprofits or government entities or whomever it may be, is that sharing that human connection of the impact it makes in the county is critical, and sharing that through, your press releases, of course, and sharing that through photography, and even, engaging the media to come and join you for if local committees are doing site visits for grantees or things like that. Just, the key behind all this, as I said probably 5 or more times now, is engaging that local media at the local level, because as the host foundation, we send press releases out for our affiliates around grant awards and those types of things, and that's great, and those do well. But if you want to go above and beyond and get that additional media coverage, the key is really that local contact, because that's who they relate with. That's just briefly about Mindy's side of the topic there. One of the other groups that we had there was the Cerro Gordo County Community Foundation, and they actually take an advertising approach to awareness there. And they budget for this. They were very planful about this. They started this before I came on board. I know the conversation originated with Jamar, I believe, and then they kind of took it on and rolled with it. And they've developed a really nice kind of awareness campaign. It revolves around National Community Foundations Week in November. And they do a full suite of advertising in both their local papers, their local TV stations, and their local radio. The messages that they share are simply, the impacts that they're making through their grant making. And we help them from our office's standpoint with language, with, producing the best products. We help them with some design, but they're gathering the information, and they're leading the charge when it comes to working with the local media. Again, it's taking that initiative from their perspective on the local level and really running with it. I just can't emphasize the importance of that enough. It helps us as the host foundation, with the resources that we have to be able to use our time in a better way. But really, those local relationships are the key to engaging the local media, whether it's for paid advertising or for, that kind of organic or word of mouth press. So some of the other great things that the Cerro Gordo County Community Foundation does is that they work with a lot of local partners to increase that word of mouth and that press presence. They work with the Blue Zone Project there in town, and I believe their volunteer association there in town, and they are on a weekly, I believe, radio show. And this is paid, but they share the cost between the three, and so then they rotate sharing their messages throughout the year on this radio show that is listened to throughout their county. So they're doing a lot of unique things there in Cerro Gordo as well. And I could keep sharing stories, I guess, Michelle. I don't know how much more you want. I have a couple of other unique examples that were shared at that meeting that weren't necessarily part of my topic.
Why don't you go ahead and share those, and then we'll open it up for anybody that has any questions. That'd be great.
Okay. This example is from the Waverly Community Fund, which is one of our community foundations, of course, at the very community level, of course, not receiving the gaming dollars. And they're a very active local community foundation and wanting to be more and more active, and it's fantastic. And one of the great things that they're doing is constantly trying to come up with new ideas to engage the Waverly community. What they decided to do was not necessarily a general awareness event, but more of an appreciation event that I think would generate some buzz around the community. And it's basically revolved around the stories in Waverly that are happening because of the grant making. They actually held the event on National Storytelling Day, and it was an event that they invited all of their base that we had in the database for them that included donors, grantees, fund holders, and they invited them all to this storytelling event there in the community, and they created, with our assistance, a booklet that summarized all of the 2015 grants and the projects that happened because of those grants. And then they also, at the event, they did a fantastic job of sharing a couple of those grant stories, but in a storytelling way, in an engaging way, almost skit-like in some regards. They brought in a special speaker. A couple of the committee members engaged in that process of doing the skits, but it was, for the first-time event, I think they had pretty good attendance, and I really felt like people came away with really better understanding the overall impact they make. I think everyone sees it individually, like, oh, this is making an impact on me in this way, but looking at it almost more community-wide, globally, if you want to say that, really opened the eyes to these people. So it's an appreciation event in a way, but also it really engages these community leaders in understanding the community foundation more and hopefully sharing that message in the community. And I know they've already got new ideas on how they want to change things up next year a little bit to increase that awareness impact. But this was all their idea. I mean, they brought us in, asked us to help out with the invitations and the communication side of things. But for the most part, the ideas were all the committee's ideas, and they carried those out, arranged everything. It was fantastic to see them take that initiative there and do that. So, but yeah, those are just a few examples. I think what I've said before, it's just engaging the local committee members, which Jamal in our office does a fantastic job of, getting them excited about what can happen when they go above and beyond, and they're doing more than granting gaming dollars, but they're increasing their endowment funds. And, having them be a part of that process where they're thinking about, now, this is our community. These are our neighbors. How can we better engage them and make them more aware of what we do as a community foundation? I mean, it's incredibly cool to watch them do this, and then for them to contact you and be part of those things.
That's great. Thank you, Jake. Appreciate all of that really wealth of information you're sharing there. I'll just say that I had the privilege to attend the meeting that Jake referenced at the beginning of his talk with the Community Foundation of Northeast Iowa's affiliates. And when the editor that he mentioned from Algona was talking about doing that special section in the newspaper, I'll just add one of the notes that I took. Was that she said it was important to sort of have a 4 to 6 month lead time with your editor if you were looking to do a special section like that. I wouldn't have known that if she hadn't said that. I mean, of course, you wouldn't think they could turn it around in a couple of weeks, but she was saying, they're very planful about those kind of sections, particularly because, as Jake mentioned, they will get advertising to support that. So that there's no cost really to the community foundation or whoever that they're highlighting in that section. So I just thought I wanted to make sure I added that in. I thought that was an important thing to note. So
thanks for adding that, Michelle.
Yeah, sure. So now I'll turn it over to anybody that's on the call. If anybody has any reactions to what you've heard that you would like to share, or something that you're doing in your community that you want others to benefit from and know about, or any questions that you'd like to ask. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask them now.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Hi. This is Pat Nelson, Madison County Community Foundations. I was wondering from the first session, let's see what her name was, MJ?
MJ. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I wondered how she came up with the 7 questions to put in the letter, and if we could maybe see those too to give us some clues as to what we might ask our demographics if we did the same thing.
That information is going to be included in the report that Michelle's going to share with those on the call. And the 7 questions, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I wasn't sure. The questions were very open-ended. So the first had to do with, what do you know about the Community Foundation? And what are our strengths and weaknesses? So just kind of taking a temperature on the community leader or the informal leader's relationship or perception about the foundation. And then it went into the questions about, what are your dreams for your community? So the 7 questions are very broad and open-ended, and they really facilitate a nice discussion where there's not a gotcha type of element, like, nobody's right or wrong on this. It's just we're all sharing. But you will be getting a copy of the report where all of those are detailed.
Okay. I understood Michelle's going to send that out, and I appreciate that. I didn't know if the questions were going to be available too. I really like your terminology. Thought leaders. I like that a lot. Thank you.
Good.
MJ, this is Michelle, just to follow up on Pat's question. Did the committee then decide on the questions that would be included, or how did you arrive at the 7 that you chose, or how did you come up with those?
Well, our host office assisted with the idea that in a focus group you'd want to just use questions that facilitated some thinking and some response, not a yes/no kind of answer.
Right.
And certainly, a lot of times on the affiliate advisory boards, it's not efficient to have all 8 or 12 members edit a letter. We really try to avoid group edit.
Right.
So there was a committee of 3 people that worked with Betty, who's the coordinator, to come up with the final questions and the letter and kind of, work as the advisors on the project. And they were our suggestions, and then they just kind of fine-tuned them. So when the participants on today's call get the questions, they'll resonate or they won't, but they'll get the idea of how open-ended they were and can then, add or subtract or change.
Sounds good. It'll probably all come into place when everybody sees that report that I send out.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Anyone else have questions for MJ or Jake, or just some information they want to share? Okay. Well, as I mentioned, I will send out that report that MJ was talking about, the listening sessions report from Alameda County. I want to thank everybody for participating in today's Peer Learning Series call, and especially to MJ and Jake for sharing their affiliate stories. This call was recorded, and we will post it on our website in case you have others in your organization that weren't able to join the call and wanted to benefit from it. That will be posted probably by the end of this week. I hope that you'll join us again on June 16th for our next Peer Learning Series call on programs and grant making and setting, which will be around setting guidelines and priorities. We'll have more information about that call in the June edition of the CF Snapshot, which is our e-newsletter. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today, and have a great afternoon.